Everything that you call reality is nothing more than the outpicturing of your inner assumptions. What you assume to be true becomes the world you walk in. The secret lies not in striving or struggling, but in assuming, in imagining, and in living from the end. When you act as if nothing is impossible, you step beyond the limitations of the five senses and dwell in the unseen reality, the reality of consciousness. To act as if nothing is impossible is to rise in consciousness and claim the state you desire as though it were already yours. You do not wait for signs, for the outer to confirm the inner. You move in silence, in stillness, in certainty. You speak to yourself as the one who already is, not the one who hopes to be. Imagination is the only power that creates. What you dare to imagine, you can experience. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are not pretending in the outer world, you are shifting in the inner world. You are not hoping, it is already so. This assumption becomes the law that governs your life. Every event, every encounter, every circumstance begins to conform to your inner conviction. You may not know how or when, but the bridge of incidents will unfold, and what was once invisible becomes tangible. You do not concern yourself with effort. You do not beg or plead. You act as if, because your imagination is God in action. That which you assume to be true will harden into fact if you persist. You walk in the feeling, you speak from it, you think from it. To act as if nothing is impossible is to know that you are already the person you desire to be. And from that knowing, everything bends in your favor. If you were already the one you long to become, how would you speak? How would you carry yourself? What would you expect each day? Begin there, live there. React to life not as the person who is waiting, but as the person who already possesses the blessing. This is not arrogance. It is faith in the unseen. It is the law of consciousness, that what you are conscious of being, you become. Do not wait for evidence, create the evidence. Do not look for signs, become the sign. Every desire you hold was first imagined. The world you see is the shadow of your persistent assumption. Stop measuring what is possible by what has been. What has been was made by the same law that governs what will be. The present is not fixed, it is fluid, molded by your inner speech and feeling. It is you the highest. Act as if all things are within reach, for they are. Nothing is withheld from you when you realize that the only door you must unlock is within your own mind. You are not separated from what you seek. You are one with it, and your assumption is the bridge between where you stand and where you choose to be. Act as if nothing is impossible, and you awaken the power that always was. What you assume to be true, even if it appears to have no evidence in the outer world, becomes the reality that unfolds before you. Assumption is not wishful thinking. It is not a passive hope. It is a deep inner conviction. A knowing, even in the absence of physical proof, that what you accept as true in consciousness must express itself in your world. You are always assuming something. Every moment you are alive, your mind is active, entertaining beliefs, inner conversations, silent agreements with life. These assumptions become the seeds of your experience. Life does not happen to you randomly. It is shaped and molded by the quality of your assumptions. When you assume that something is possible, when you live in the state of that assumption, you align your inner world with the outcome you desire. This alignment becomes the creative force behind your experiences. If you assume that people are kind, life begins to mirror kindness back to you. If you assume you are always unlucky, the world reflects circumstances that validate that belief. The outer world is not separate from the inner world. It is the outpicturing of it. The law is always working, and it does not discriminate. It gives form to whatever you persistently assume to be true. Assumption works not because you force the world to change, but because you change the lens through which you see the world. Your thoughts, feelings, reactions, and expectations are rooted in these assumptions. They color every decision you make, every action you take. When you begin to assume that nothing is impossible for you, you enter a new dimension of life. Obstacles become irrelevant. Delays lose their power. You begin to walk with a sense of purpose and clarity, because you know that what you assume and persist in must externalize itself. This is not about controlling others or manipulating situations. It is about embodying the truth that consciousness is the only reality. Everything else is an echo, a shadow of that truth. If you assume wealth, not just think about it, but feel it, breathe it, walk in it, the world around you must conform. If you assume love, not from need or lack, but from wholeness and fulfillment, love finds its way into your experience. The bridge of incidents may be unpredictable, but the end is certain. Your assumption sets the destination, and life orchestrates the journey. You may wonder how something invisible, intangible like assumption can wield such power. The answer lies in understanding that consciousness is the source of all creation. Before there was any manifestation, there was first an idea, a thought, a belief. The invisible always precedes the visible. Assumption is the blueprint. Reality is the construction. The builder follows the blueprint without question. It is mechanical in its loyalty. Whatever you assume with feeling and repetition becomes embedded in your subconscious mind. And your subconscious then moves the world to reflect that image back to you. People often say they want to change their lives, but they rarely examine their assumptions. They may change jobs, cities, relationships, yet the same patterns reappear. Why? Because the assumption has not changed. You cannot escape your assumptions. They travel with you. They shape how you interpret every event, how you respond to every word spoken to you, how you see every opportunity. If you want a new life, you must form new assumptions. And these new assumptions must be lived in, felt real, and persisted in, regardless of appearances. This is the discipline. It requires awareness, persistence, and trust. You must be willing to believe in the unseen more than the seen. You must prioritize the world within over the world without. When doubt arises, you return to the assumption. When fear whispers, you affirm the truth of your inner knowing. You do not argue with appearances. You do not fight reality. You revise it from within. You assume what you desire to be true now, and you dwell in that assumption until it feels natural. Then the world, without fail, will mirror it. The moment you understand this law, you step into your creative power. You no longer beg for change, you command it through assumption, not through ego, but through awareness of who you really are. You are the operant power. Nothing happens until you assume it to be so. You do not need permission, you do not need proof. The proof comes after the assumption. The world is clay and your assumption is the mold. Every limitation you believe in, every condition you accept as final, is only so because you have assumed it. Even when it appears that the world contradicts your desire, do not be deceived. The outer world is always a delayed response to an old assumption. If you persist in a new assumption, it must replace the old. This is not magic, this is law. You do not have to figure out how it will happen. The how is not your concern. Your only responsibility is to sustain the assumption until the feeling of its reality becomes so natural, so normal, that it no longer feels like an effort. Children do this naturally. They imagine, they believe, they act without questioning whether it is realistic. They live in their assumptions, and for them the line between inner and outer is blurred. As adults, we learn to limit ourselves. We adopt the assumptions of those around us, the collective fear, the doubt, the logic that says things must happen in a certain way. But the moment you choose to discard those limiting assumptions and replace them with ones that empower you, you break free. Your future is not fixed. It is open, fluid, and subject to your assumptions. The most powerful question you can ask yourself is, what am I assuming to be true right now? And if you find that your assumption is rooted in lack, fear, doubt, or delay, change it. Not by force, but by imagining a new scene, a new story, a new version of yourself, and stepping into it boldly. Reality will follow. It has no choice. It is obedient to the command of your persistent assumption. Even if you fall back into old thinking, do not condemn yourself. Simply return to the new assumption. Each time you do, you impress it more deeply. Eventually, it becomes your natural state, and what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. To live from the end is to dwell in the feeling that your desire is already fulfilled, to let go of waiting and hoping, and to instead assume the position of having, being, and experiencing the thing longed for. It is a radical shift in consciousness, one that leaves behind the idea that your desire is somewhere out in the future, separate from you, and instead embraces the truth that creation is finished, and everything you seek already exists within you. Living from the end means identifying yourself not with the process, but with the result. You become the version of yourself who already possesses what you once wished for, and in doing so you cause the world to rearrange itself to match that new state of being. This state is not built on wishful thinking or shallow daydreaming. It is a conscious embodiment of the wish fulfilled, rooted in the imagination. When you live from the end, you close the gap between yourself and your desire. You stop affirming its absence and instead breathe, think, and walk in the awareness that it is already done. Every thought you have, every word you speak, every decision you make from that moment onward is influenced by the certainty that your desire is yours now. You stop looking to the outside world for confirmation and instead trust the internal world, where the real transformation occurs. There is a great difference between hoping for something and assuming it is already yours. Hope keeps it in the future. Hope waits. Living from the end acts. It affirms, it expresses, it moves in faith. The imagination is the workshop of creation, and by imagining yourself already in possession of your desire, you activate the unseen forces of your inner reality. You no longer look for signs that it's coming. You know that it is already here, in the only place that matters, within consciousness. The senses may deny it, but that does not concern you. You remain loyal to your inner world, and as you persist in this loyalty, the outer world is compelled to reflect it. This is not about pretending or faking something in a way that feels hollow. It is about aligning your entire being with the state you wish to occupy. If you desire success, you do not merely say, "I want to be successful someday." You ask, "How would I feel if I were already successful?" And then you anchor yourself in that feeling. You carry yourself with the confidence of someone who has already arrived. You take actions not to become successful, but as one who is already successful and is now merely unfolding that reality in time. When you live from the end lives through you. You become an embodiment of your dream. You feel the satisfaction of it in your heart, the relief of having it, the joy of experiencing it. You rehearse the scene inwardly until it feels so familiar that the line between imagination and reality disappears. The world outside must conform to the dominant state within. If you sustain the feeling of the wish fulfilled long enough, it becomes natural, automatic, your new home in consciousness. Then life, in its mysterious and beautiful way, brings about the bridge of incidents that carry you to the physical manifestation of that which you inwardly accepted as true. Living from the end also dissolves resistance. You are no longer trying to get something, you are resting in the knowing that you already have it. There is no effort, only alignment. No tension, only ease. You no longer struggle against current conditions or fight to force change. You simply remain faithful to the inner state and allow it to externalize itself in its own time and manner. You do not chase results because results are inevitable when the inner state is maintained. Your inner conversations shift when you live from the end. You stop arguing for your limitations. You no longer repeat old stories of why you can't have what you want. Instead, your self-talk becomes aligned with the reality you have chosen. You affirm, "This is who I am now." You feel it in your breath. You see it in your imagination. You react to the world not based on appearances, but based on your inner conviction. And slowly, subtly, then suddenly, the world bends to match your assumption. There is power in this practice, a quiet strength. It is not noisy or dramatic, it is deeply personal, often invisible to others. But you feel it within yourself, the steadiness, the knowing, the joy of already being where you once longed to be. This is the secret of transformation. It is not about trying to change what is. It is about assuming what will be is already now, and then trusting that everything else will follow. Living from the end means you let go of all need to control. You trust the process because you trust your inner state. You no longer ask, "When will it happen?" or "How will it come?" These questions lose their power over you. You are too busy living in the fulfillment to worry about the mechanics of its arrival. The end is already yours. And so, you walk with a different energy. You speak with calm assurance. You rest in the peace that comes from knowing that what is within must come without. The world responds not to your wish, but to your assumption. It doesn't matter what others see. It only matters what you see in your mind's eye. If you see it clearly and consistently, and you feel it deeply, and you return to it daily, then nothing can stop it from becoming real. When you imagine an outcome with full faith and dwell in its feeling, you create the mold. Reality, like molten metal, must pour itself into that mold. In this way, you become the master of your fate, not by effort, but by consciousness. You no longer plead with life. You declare what is true within you, and that inner declaration echoes through every corner of your experience until the entire world affirms what you first affirmed in silence. You are the creator and the created, the dreamer and the dream. To live from the end is to wake up and remember that you already are what you seek to become. All that remains is to remain loyal to that vision, to feed it with faith, and to watch as life confirms it with precision. When you act as if nothing is impossible, you must learn to trust your inner conviction more than the evidence presented by your five senses. The world of appearances is not the source of truth. It is merely the delayed reflection of previous assumptions. Outer evidence is always behind the scenes of consciousness. What you see, hear, touch, and experience today is the result of thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions you once held. It is the shadow of an inner state that has already passed. If you judge reality based on what is currently seen, you lock yourself into a cycle of repetition, constantly responding to the old, reinforcing what already exists, and thereby making it difficult to move forward into the new. The key to transformation lies in turning away from the visible and holding fast to your inner truth. Your conviction, your unwavering belief in the unseen, becomes the force that shapes the visible. To believe when there is no proof, to act in alignment with the desire that has not yet materialized, to speak with confidence in the middle of silence, this is the true test of creation. Faith is not belief in spite of evidence. It is the certainty that your assumption is real, even if no one else can see it. It is not about what is. It is about what will inevitably become once consciousness leads the way. When you begin to live by inner conviction, your emotional world shifts. You are no longer tossed by every circumstance, every delay, every contradiction. You become stable, anchored in the truth that what you have assumed with persistence must become your reality. This certainty does not come from the world, it comes from within. It is a stillness, a quiet knowing, a sense of completion even in the middle of what seems incomplete. The world may say you can't have it. Your senses may echo that denial. But your assumption says, it is already done. And so you remain loyal to the end you have claimed, without wavering, without pleading, without compromise. This loyalty to your inner world must become your way of life. The mind will try to return to what is visible. The world will demand that you be realistic. But realism, as commonly understood, is simply the worship of appearances. It is bondage to what has already been created. True realism is seeing the invisible and honoring it as the real cause. You are not required to explain your inner conviction. You are not obligated to convince others of your assumption. All that is required is that you persist in it, dwell in it, and allow it to color your actions, your speech, your thoughts, and your feelings. To act in contradiction to what you feel within is to sabotage your own power. You cannot plant a seed and then dig it up each day to check its progress. You must trust the process. You must believe in the unfolding. When the inner conviction is strong enough, the outer world begins to shift in subtle and then unmistakable ways. You meet people who seem divinely aligned with your desire. Opportunities open that you never could have planned. Circumstances rearrange themselves as if responding to your internal command, and yet none of it feels forced. It happens with ease, because it is the natural outflow of an established inner state. The temptation to be ruled by appearances is strong, especially when the desire is great and time appears to pass without result. But if you yield to appearances, if you let what is dictate what will be, you fall into the trap of reaction. You become a follower rather than a creator. But if you hold firm, if you close your eyes to what is and open your inner eye to what must be, then the law begins to work in your favor. You will begin to realize that the outer world is not solid or fixed. It is responsive, fluid, obedient to the inner command of consciousness. When you feel discouraged, return to the inner scene. Remind yourself of the state you have assumed. Re-enter the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Speak from it, not about it. Do not ask, will it happen? Ask instead, how would I feel now that it has happened? And then dwell in that answer. That feeling is the key. It is the evidence of things not seen. It is the assurance of your reality. As you persist in that feeling, your assumption becomes fact. The bridge of incidence appears, not through your effort, but through the silent operation of consciousness, aligning itself with your belief. The outer world has no choice. It must reflect the inner state you dwell in. It has no power to defy your sustained assumption. It may delay, but it cannot deny. You may not know the path, but the path is not yours to decide. Your role is to live in the end, to trust the unseen, and to never surrender your conviction to the tyranny of facts. The facts are only true as long as you consent to them. Change your assumption, and you begin to dissolve the old facts and create new ones. This is the way of the creative individual, not to argue with appearances, but to ignore them when they contradict the desire, not to resist reality, but to reshape it from the inside out. You are not here to be a victim of the visible, but a master of the invisible. When you understand this, you will stop looking for signs and start becoming the sign. You will stop needing permission and start giving yourself authority. And in this authority, in this deep inner certainty, you will discover the great secret that the world outside is no more powerful than the world within, and that your conviction, your faithful, persistent assumption has the final word. Imagination is the only power that creates. Everything you see around you, everything you experience in your world, began first in the unseen realm of thought, of feeling, of imagination. Before the house was built, someone imagined it. Before the invention was made, someone saw it in their mind. Before the success appeared, someone lived it internally. Imagination is not a trivial pastime. It is the divine workshop of creation, the place where the invisible is shaped and formed into the visible. All things are made twice, first in the unseen, then in the seen. Imagination is the womb of reality. When you understand that imagination is not a shadow of reality, but the very source of it, you begin to treat it with reverence. You no longer brush off your daydreams or dismiss your inner visions as fantasy. Instead, you realize they are the blueprint of what will come. The world outside is a delayed echo, a reflection of what has already been claimed within. Your world is not happening to you randomly. It is responding to the dominant images and emotional states you hold in your imagination. The pictures you entertain, the scenes you rehearse, the moods you embody, these are the silent architects of your life. Most people use their imagination unconsciously. They worry, they fear, they replay negative scenarios, and they do not realize that these mental activities are creative. They think they are merely reacting to life, but in truth they are shaping it. The power of imagination is impartial. It gives form to whatever is impressed upon it with feeling, attention, and repetition. The law does not discriminate between what is wanted and what is feared. It simply accepts what you dwell upon as your chosen reality and moves to externalize it. This is why your awareness is everything. Where your attention goes, your energy flows, and where your energy flows, your world takes shape. You must become the guardian of your imagination, choosing carefully the thoughts you permit, the images you feed, the stories you repeat to yourself. You do not need to fight against the outer world. You only need to persist in a new inner image. Over time, that inner image crystallizes into experience. Imagination becomes even more powerful when it is combined with feeling. Feeling is the fuel that ignites the image. When you imagine a scene with vivid detail and emotional involvement, you impress it upon your subconscious. And the subconscious, which is the servant of imagination, begins to move all things necessary to bring that image to life. You may not know how or when it will happen, but that is not your concern. Your only task is to feel it real, to accept it inwardly, and to persist in it faithfully. The quotation, humanis polesas humani vedi. You do not need the permission of the world to create. You do not need circumstances to align before you begin to believe. You only need to imagine boldly, freely, consistently. Let your mind be a sanctuary of possibility. Let your inner conversations reflect the life you wish to live. Let your day be filled with silent, joyful rehearsals of your fulfilled desire. What you imagine and accept as true with feeling must eventually take form. Imagination is more real than the facts that confront you. The facts are merely the footprints of past assumptions. They are not fixed, they can be changed, and the tool that changes them is imagination. You are not bound to the conditions you see. You are not defined by the circumstances you inherited. You are not limited by the world outside, unless you first limit yourself within. The moment you dare to imagine something greater and believe in it, you open the door to a new reality. People will often say, be realistic, but realism is often just a polite word for fear. It is a way of saying, don't expect too much, or stay within the bounds of what has already been proven. But nothing new is ever created from realism. All great changes, all breakthroughs, all miracles begin in the mind of someone who imagined something others could not see. Imagination reaches beyond the facts and calls forth a new order. It breaks the rules of probability and creates a new pattern based on belief, not evidence. There is no limit to what imagination can do, except the limits you place on it. If you can see it in your mind and feel it in your heart, it is possible. You may be tempted to dismiss the power of imagination because the results are not immediate. But this process is not instantaneous, it is progressive. Just as the seed does not become a tree overnight, your inner assumptions unfold gradually into form. The key is persistence. The more you return to the image, the more natural it becomes. The more natural it becomes, the more inevitable its appearance. There is no force outside of you dictating your life. The power is within you, and imagination is its instrument. If you want to change your life, change your imagination. Do not try to fix the outer world directly. That is like rearranging the shadow rather than turning toward the light. Instead, go inward. Create a new scene. Step into it with feeling. Make it vivid, sensory, believable. See it, hear it, touch it in your mind. Let it become your new home. And then walk in that inner world as though it were the only world that exists. What you entertain within with persistence and emotion must show itself in your external life. This is not theory, it is law. It has worked for those who believed and persisted, and it will work for you if you dare to trust your imagination above all else. When you honor your inner world, the outer world rises to meet it. When you invest in the unseen, the seen begins to shift. There is no greater power, no deeper truth. Imagination is the source of all that is, all that has been, and all that will ever be. When you claim this power, you no longer wait for change. You become the cause of it. You are not separate from what you desire. The moment you conceive of a thing, the moment a longing or vision arises within you, it means it already exists as a potential reality within your consciousness. Desire is not a signal of absence. It is the whisper of something already prepared for you in the unseen realm. The idea that you must earn, chase, or beg for your dream implies separation, but in truth, the only distance between you and your desire is your own state of consciousness. When you shift that state, when you move into alignment with the feeling of having it, the illusion of separation dissolves. You are one with your desire because you and your imagination are not two separate things. Your imagination is the place where your desires are born, and therefore the place where they already live. Most people live in a constant state of trying. They try to become successful, try to become loved, try to attract wealth or health or peace. But trying reinforces the belief that you are not yet what you wish to be. And what you believe, you experience. The law is simple. You experience what you are conscious of being. If you are always conscious of becoming, you are forever in the process, never arriving. To break the cycle, you must move into the assumption that you already are what you seek. That is the secret hidden in plain sight. You must occupy the state mentally, emotionally, spiritually, even if nothing in the outer world has changed. That assumption, once persistently held, is the creative force that causes your reality to mirror it. To be one with your desire is to identify yourself as already possessing the thing you long for. It means you stop visualizing it as something far away or outside of yourself. Instead, you begin to see yourself as the person who already has it, is it, lives it. This is more than imagination. It is identification. You feel the joy, the relief, the confidence that naturally arises when something is no longer desired, but claimed. You walk differently. You speak with more certainty. You respond to life from a different center. The world, without even knowing why, begins to treat you in accordance with your new identity. You are not required to make your desire happen. That burden does not belong to you. Your role is not to figure out the steps, manipulate the outcomes, or beg life for miracles. Your only role is to occupy the consciousness of the wish fulfilled, knowing that all necessary movements in the world will follow. Circumstances, people, and opportunities will be drawn to you because of the magnetic nature of your inner state. You are conscious of being, you radiate. And what you radiate, you attract. This is not superstition. It is the principle of alignment. There is no need to beg the universe, no need to convince yourself over and over that something might happen. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And what you are is determined by your self-concept, your consistent assumptions about yourself and your world. If you believe you are separate from your desire, it will continue to elude you. If you believe you are one with it, it must manifest. You become the cause. You become the starting point of a new chain of events. Life bends itself around your state of being. To practice this, begin by stepping into the feeling of already having what you want. If it were true, how would you think? How would you react to challenges? What choices would you make? Begin to live from those answers. Let them guide your decisions. Let them inform your posture, your speech, your energy. This is not make-believe. This is self-creation. You are not pretending. You are choosing. You are not fantasizing. You are creating. You are not hoping. You are becoming. There is no distance between you and your dream except in your own belief. That distance is not physical. It is psychological. It exists only in the mind. And the moment you dissolve the idea of waiting, striving, or someday, and instead assume the truth of now, you collapse the distance. You unify with the thing sought. That unity is what causes the outer world to mirror the inner change. The external reality cannot help but reflect what has been fully accepted within. Even when the senses contradict your assumption, you must remain faithful to it. The outer world is always a step behind. It lags, but if you persist, if you do not let appearances shake your inner knowing, they will begin to change. What once seemed impossible will appear inevitable. The people who doubted you will wonder how it happened, but you will know the truth. You changed nothing outside, you changed within. You stepped into union with your desire, and the rest unfolded naturally. This way of being is not reserved for a chosen few. It is not about special talents or perfect conditions. It is a universal law, and it responds to all who use it with awareness and discipline. You may not have seen results yet because you have not persisted long enough in the assumption of fulfillment. You may have let your senses convince you of separation, but that can change now. You can at any moment abandon the old state and enter the new. You do not need to ask anyone. You do not need permission. You only need willingness. Willingness to feel differently. Willingness to trust what cannot yet be seen. Willingness to imagine more boldly, more vividly, more consistently. The world will follow. Your desire is not on a distant mountain or locked away by fate. It is as close as your next thought, your next feeling, your next breath. The only work is to live from the place where the desire is already real, to rest in the knowing that the outer world cannot help but conform to the image you persistently hold within. You are not on a journey to get something. You are returning to who you already are. You and your desire are not two. They are one. The secret to transforming your life lies in one simple truth. You are already in possession of everything you desire. It is not something to chase, not something to strive for, but something to claim as yours. The moment you shift your awareness to the feeling of already having, the world must rearrange itself to match your conviction. This is the law, unwavering and absolute. You do not beg for what is already yours. You do not wonder whether it will come. You rest in the certainty that it is done. The universe is not withholding anything from you. It responds to your inner state, reflecting back to you what you accept as real. Every thought, every emotion, every deep-seated belief shapes the world you experience. If you truly know that what you desire is on its way, it must come. If you persist in the state of already having, there is nothing that can keep it from you. To live in this way is not to pretend but to embody. It is to walk each day as though your desires have already materialized. If love is what you seek, move through the world as one who is already cherished. If wealth is your aim, carry yourself with the quiet confidence of one who knows abundance. If health is your wish, live in the assurance of vitality. The feeling is the key. Feel now what you would feel then, and the unseen forces will bring the visible into alignment. Doubt and fear have no power unless you give them life. When you understand this, you will no longer waver between hope and despair. You will stand firm in the knowing that the world outside is but a shadow of your inner state. Change within, and the without must follow. There is no effort in this, only the simple, unwavering acceptance of what is already yours. The greatest secret to manifesting what you desire is not in effort or struggle, but in the ability to live in the feeling of already having it. Everything in life is governed by the state of consciousness you occupy. What you assume to be true and feel as real within yourself must externalize itself in your world. This is not a matter of chance or luck, but to law as precise and unyielding as gravity. The key is to shift your awareness from longing to possession, from wishing to knowing, from hoping to certainty. Most people live in the state of wanting. They look at their current circumstances and measure what is possible by what their senses confirm. They see lack and affirm it by their thoughts, emotions, and actions. They unknowingly create resistance by constantly reinforcing the absence of what they desire. They believe that once they obtain what they seek, then they will feel fulfilled, joyful, or at peace. But this is an illusion. The outer world is only a mirror of the inner world. If you feel lacking within, the world has no choice but to reflect lack back to you. If you feel abundant, the world will organize itself to match that abundance. The change must happen within first. To embody the feeling of already having means to shift from desiring to being. It requires a deep inner conviction that what you seek is already yours, not in some distant future, but right now. You do not need physical proof. Your conviction alone is the creative force that shapes reality. You must dwell in the mood of already possessing, and in doing so, you summon the unseen forces to bring your desire into tangible form. This is not a fleeting moment of imagination, but a sustained state of being. Imagine for a moment that your wish is already fulfilled. How would you feel? How would you walk, speak, and carry yourself? What thoughts would occupy your mind? What emotions would fill your heart? To truly assume the state of the wish fulfilled, you must answer these questions with sincerity and embody the answers in your daily life. The person who has achieved their desire does not doubt or question when or how it will come. They move with certainty, free from anxiety, resting in the knowing that what they desire is already theirs. This is not about pretending or playing make-believe. It is about shifting your awareness to a reality that already exists in the unseen. When you close your eyes and enter the state of having, the mind does not distinguish between what is imagined and what is real. The subconscious mind accepts whatever is impressed upon it. If you consistently impress upon it the feeling of fulfillment, it will mold your external world to match. The biggest obstacle people face in this process is their attachment to their current circumstances. They allow the evidence of their senses to dictate what they believe is possible. They say, "I will believe it when I see it." But the truth is, you will see it when you believe it. Your senses only confirm what your consciousness has already accepted as true. If you remain in a state of lack, waiting for proof before you believe, you will continue to experience lack. But if you persist in the feeling of already having, the proof will come effortlessly. To live in the feeling of already having, you must be unwavering in your assumption. There can be no moments of doubt, no oscillation between faith and fear. The moment you begin to question, where is it? Why hasn't it arrived yet? You step out of the state of fulfillment and back into the state of wanting. Wanting only perpetuates more wanting. You must dwell persistently in the end result, knowing that what is unseen is just as real as what is seen. A practical way to reinforce this state is through imagination. Each day, take time to enter into the scene of your wish fulfilled. Make it vivid, detailed, and rich in emotion. Feel the joy, the gratitude, the excitement of already having. Let this become your dominant mood. Carry this feeling with you throughout the day. Walk as though you already possess what you desire. Speak as though it is already yours. Think from the place of already having, not from the place of waiting. Another powerful method is to observe your thoughts and emotions throughout the day. The moment you catch yourself longing or doubting, pause and redirect your awareness. Remind yourself that the desire is already fulfilled. Breathe deeply and return to the inner conviction that what you seek is yours. Make this a habit until it becomes second nature. Your external reality will always conform to your dominant state. There is no force outside of you that decides what you can or cannot have. You are the operant power. The universe does not delay or withhold. It simply reflects. If your reflection does not yet match your desire, it is only because you have not fully occupied the state of already having. The moment you do, reality must shift. Some may wonder, how long does it take? The answer lies not in time, but in the depth of your conviction. The more real and natural the feeling of already having becomes, the faster the manifestation. There are no limits except the ones you impose upon yourself. The process is simple, but it requires faith, consistency, and discipline of thought. You must act as the person who already has it, not in a forced or artificial way, but in a way that feels natural and inevitable. Let your thoughts, words, and actions be guided by the assumption that your wish is a present reality. As you do this, everything around you will begin to shift. Opportunities will arise, circumstances will align, and what once seemed impossible will become your lived experience. This is the key to effortless manifestation. It is not about struggle, hard work, or hoping for a miracle. It is about embodying the feeling of already having and allowing the universe to bring it into your world. When you fully embrace this truth, you will see that everything you desire is already yours, waiting for you to claim it. Your external world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. Every experience you encounter, every event that unfolds, and every person you meet is responding to the vibration of your consciousness. The universe does not operate separately from you. It mirrors your beliefs, your assumptions, and the feelings that you carry within. This is not a philosophy, but a fundamental truth that governs all creation. What you hold as real within must eventually take form in the world around you. Most people believe that life happens to them, that they are at the mercy of circumstances, luck, or fate. They see themselves as separate from the forces that shape their reality, reacting to what appears before them rather than understanding that they are the source of it all. But the truth is that nothing in your life occurs by chance. Every situation, whether favorable or unfavorable, has been drawn to you by the energy of your consciousness. The thoughts you entertain consistently, the emotions you dwell in, and the beliefs you accept as true become the blueprint for your life. This is why change cannot happen by merely wishing for different conditions. You cannot change the outer world without first changing the inner world. If you attempt to force circumstances to shift without altering your state of mind, you will find yourself trapped in a cycle of repetition. This is why many people feel stuck, constantly struggling to improve their lives, yet seeing the same patterns repeat themselves. They are attempting to change the effect while leaving the cause untouched. The only way to create lasting transformation is to shift your inner state. To do this, you must first become aware of what you are consistently feeling and believing. Your emotions are the clearest indicator of the state you are occupying. If you feel lack, frustration, or doubt, it is a sign that your inner world is not aligned with the reality you desire. If you feel peace, confidence, and fulfillment, then you are in harmony with what you wish to create. The universe is always responding to this state, bringing you experiences that match it. Many people believe that their emotions are simply reactions to what is happening in their lives. They think that when good things occur, they will feel happy, and when bad things happen, they will feel sad or frustrated. But this is a misunderstanding of how reality works. Your emotions are not just responses, they are creative forces. When you consistently feel a certain way, you are shaping your reality to reflect that feeling. If you live in a state of anxiety, expecting difficulties, life will continue to present you with situations that validate your fears. If you live in a state of confidence and abundance, life will mirror those qualities back to you. Understanding this truth means taking full responsibility for your inner state. No longer can you blame circumstances, other people, or external conditions for your experiences. You must recognize that everything you encounter is a reflection of what you have accepted as real. This is not about guilt or self-blame, but about empowerment. If you have created unwanted experiences through past assumptions, you have the power to create something entirely different by shifting those assumptions. The moment you change your internal state, the outer world must follow. This is not something that may happen or could happen. It must happen. The universe has no choice but to conform to the dominant vibration of your consciousness. This is why those who are truly successful, joyful, and fulfilled do not wait for their conditions to improve before they feel good. They feel good first, knowing that their emotions and beliefs are the architects of their experience. If you wish to see love in your life, you must first embody the feeling of love within. If you desire abundance, you must first cultivate the feeling of being abundant. If you long for peace, you must first dwell in the state of inner peace. It is never the other way around. Most people seek external changes in hopes that they will then be able to feel a certain way. But the wise understand that they must feel first, and then the world will adjust accordingly. This process does not require effort or struggle. You do not need to force yourself to think positively or suppress negative emotions. It is simply a matter of shifting your awareness. Instead of focusing on what is lacking or what is wrong, place your attention on what you wish to experience. Instead of dwelling on what is missing, feel the presence of what you desire as though it is already here. This does not mean ignoring reality, but recognizing that reality is fluid, always shaped by the consciousness that observes it. One of the most effective ways to shift your inner state is through imagination. Your imagination is not just a tool for creativity, it is the gateway to creation itself. Whatever you vividly imagine and accept as true in your inner world will eventually solidify into your external world. Take time each day to close your eyes and see yourself already living the life you desire. Feel the emotions of that reality as if it were happening now. Let it become so real within you that it is impossible to doubt. When you do this consistently, the universe must respond by rearranging circumstances to match your inner vision. Another key to maintaining the right inner state is to observe your habitual thoughts. Your mind is constantly running patterns, repeating ideas that have been impressed upon it over time. If these patterns are rooted in fear, limitation, or lack, they will continue to manifest in your life. Begin to replace them with thoughts that align with the reality you wish to experience. Instead of saying, "I hope this happens," say, "I know this is already mine." Instead of thinking, "I don't have enough," affirm, "I live in abundance." Words are powerful, but it is not just the words themselves that create change. It is the feeling behind them. Speak with conviction, knowing that what you declare within must eventually appear without. There is no limit to what you can create when you understand that the universe is always responding to your inner state. Nothing is impossible because nothing is outside of you. You are not separate from the source of all creation. You are a powerful being, shaping reality with every thought, every feeling, and every belief you hold. Doubt is the only thing that can delay your manifestations. The moment you question whether the universe is truly responding to you, you step out of alignment with your desired reality. This is why faith is essential. Faith is not blind hope. It is the deep inner knowing that what you desire is already yours. It is the unwavering trust that the unseen is just as real as the seen. When you hold this faith, the universe must respond in kind. Patience is also important. The outer world is always adjusting to match your inner state, but there is often a delay between the shift in consciousness and the physical manifestation. This delay is not a sign that nothing is happening. It is simply the natural process of reality restructuring itself. Remain steadfast in your new state, regardless of what your senses tell you. Do not look to the outside world for confirmation. Look within. If you persist in the feeling of already having, the evidence will come in due time. Mastering this principle means mastering your life. No longer will you feel like a victim of circumstances. No longer will you live in uncertainty, wondering whether your desires will come to pass. You will know that you are the creator and the universe is your faithful servant, responding to your inner world with perfect precision. Everything you see, everything you experience is the outpicturing of your consciousness. Change within, and everything else must follow. You do not beg for what is already yours. You do not plead for what has already been given. The moment you desire something, it exists for you in the unseen, waiting for you to claim it. The only thing standing between you and its manifestation is your level of certainty. If you wish to bring something into your reality, you must claim it with absolute conviction, without hesitation, without doubt, without needing proof from the outside world. The moment you decide it is already yours, the universe begins to align itself to bring it into your experience. Most people approach their desires as though they are something separate from them, something they must earn, chase, or convince the universe to grant. This mindset creates distance between them and their desires, reinforcing the idea that what they want is not yet theirs. They live in a state of wanting, hoping, wishing, rather than in the state of possession. But the truth is, creation is finished. Everything that ever was, is, or will be already exists. The moment you desire something, you are being called toward it because it is already a part of you. The only requirement is that you step into the state of having. Claiming what is yours is not about forcing or manipulating the external world, it is about inner alignment. The world you see is a reflection of what you accept as real within yourself. If you believe you are lacking, the world will confirm that belief. If you believe you are abundant, the world will arrange itself to prove you right. The external is only ever a mirror of the internal. There is no power outside of you that determines what you can or cannot have. The only limitations are the ones you accept. To fully claim what is yours, you must embody the identity of the person who already possesses it. If you desire wealth, you must carry yourself as someone who already has it. If you seek love, you must move through life as someone who is already loved. This does not mean pretending or playing a role. It means fully embracing the feeling of already having, without looking to the outside world for validation. When you shift your inner state, the outer world has no choice but to reflect that shift. This is why those who confidently expect good things to come to them seem to receive everything effortlessly. They are not waiting for signs before they believe. They believe first, and the signs follow. Their certainty is unshakable, and because they do not entertain doubt, the universe responds swiftly to their assumptions. They do not ask, will this happen? They do not wonder, how long will it take? They simply know. They walk, talk, and think from the reality they have claimed, and because of this, it must manifest. Doubt is the only thing that can interfere with this process. The moment you question whether your desire will come, you step out of the state of having and into the state of lack. The moment you wonder how or when it will happen, you introduce resistance. The universe does not respond to half beliefs or hesitant wishes. It responds to firm, unwavering conviction. If you declare something as yours, but then spend your time questioning it, you are contradicting yourself, and the universe will reflect that contradiction back to you. Many people believe they must work tirelessly, prove themselves worthy, or struggle to receive what they desire. They have been conditioned to think that effort and sacrifice are required for anything of value. But true manifestation is effortless. It does not come from struggle, it comes from alignment. When you truly accept something as yours, you do not need to force it into being. It flows naturally to you. The only effort required is in maintaining your state of certainty, in refusing to entertain doubt, in persistently seeing yourself as already in possession of what you desire. This does not mean you must sit idly and wait. Action is often part of the process, but it is inspired action, not forced action. When you are in the state of having, the right opportunities, people, and circumstances will present themselves effortlessly. You will feel a natural pull towards certain actions, and those actions will feel joyful, not burdensome. You will not take action out of fear or desperation, but from a place of knowing that what you desire is inevitable. When a person truly claims something as theirs, they do not question it. They do not check their surroundings for proof. They do not allow temporary appearances to sway their belief. They remain steadfast in their assumption, no matter what. This persistence is what brings results. Reality may take time to rearrange itself, but if you hold firm in your state, the physical world must conform. To make this practice even more powerful, use your imagination. See yourself already in possession of what you desire. Feel the emotions you would feel if it were already yours. Dwell in that state until it becomes second nature. Let it become so real within you that you no longer need external confirmation. When you wake up in the morning, remind yourself that your desire is already yours. Move through your day with the confidence of someone who knows their wish has been fulfilled. Before you sleep, replay scenes in your mind where you are living in the reality you have claimed. The only reason manifestations seem delayed is because people waver between different states. One moment they feel certain that their desire is theirs, and the next they question it. One day they affirm their faith, and the next they search for proof. This back and forth keeps their desire in limbo. But when you decide once and for all that what you seek is already yours, when you refuse to be moved by appearances, when you remain unwavering in your inner conviction, the universe will move heaven and earth to bring it to you. There is no need to wait for permission, no need to wonder if you are worthy. You would not have the desire in your heart if it were not already meant for you. The only requirement is that you accept it as yours. Do not treat it as something you hope to receive. Treat it as something you already possess. The moment you make this shift, the world will reorganize itself to reflect your new state of being. What once seemed out of reach will come effortlessly. What once felt uncertain will become undeniable. Everything you want is already waiting for you. It exists in the unseen, ready to take form the moment you claim it. The universe is not withholding anything from you. It is not testing you, delaying you, or making you prove yourself. It is simply waiting for you to step into the state of already having, to align with what is already yours. When you do, there will be no struggle, no doubt, no waiting. Only the joyful realization that you were always meant to have it. Everything in your reality is responding to your assumptions. You are not separate from the world around you. You are the cause of everything that unfolds in your experience. The circumstances of your life are not happening to you by chance, nor are they dictated by forces beyond your control. Instead, they are the direct reflection of what you assume to be true. Your assumptions are the blueprint upon which your reality is built, and they dictate what you see, hear, and experience. An assumption is more than just a passing thought. It is a deep-seated belief, a conviction that something is true even before you see evidence of it. Whether you assume success or failure, love or loneliness, abundance or lack, the universe molds itself to fit that assumption. It is not a question of whether this principle works. It is always working. The only question is whether you are using it to your advantage or allowing it to create realities you do not wish to experience. Most people believe that they must see results before they can believe in something. They look at their circumstances for proof before they allow themselves to feel a certain way. But this is the opposite of how reality works. You must first assume something is true before you can see it reflected in your world. You must first embody the feeling of already having what you desire before the physical world can rearrange itself to confirm it. This is not wishful thinking, it is the law of consciousness in action. If you assume that life is difficult, that you must struggle for every success, then life will present you with endless struggles. If you assume that love is scarce, that you are unworthy of deep connections, then you will encounter situations that reinforce this belief. But if you assume that life is always working in your favor, that opportunities flow effortlessly to you, that love surrounds you, then you will witness these assumptions play out in every aspect of your life. Your assumptions form the unseen framework of your experience, and they determine what is possible for you. There is no need to question whether this is true. The proof is all around you. Look at your life as it is now. Every recurring pattern, every situation that seems to repeat itself, every area where you feel stuck is the result of an assumption you have accepted as true. If you examine these areas honestly, you will see that they are not happening by chance. They are following the mental script you have been running, consciously or unconsciously. To change your life, you must first change your assumptions. You must take full responsibility for the beliefs you have been holding and decide to replace them with those that serve you. This is not about forcing yourself to think positively. It is about shifting your inner state so completely that your new assumptions become your natural way of seeing the world. One of the most powerful ways to shift your assumptions is through imagination. The mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. If you can fully immerse yourself in the feeling of already having your desire, if you can assume it is yours before you see any external proof, then it must become reality. This is the key to all manifestation. Do not wait for external circumstances to change before you shift your belief. If you want wealth, assume that you are already wealthy. If you want love, assume that you are already deeply loved. If you want success, assume that everything you do leads to success. Let these assumptions become so natural to you that they no longer feel like something you are trying to convince yourself of, but simply the way life is. This process does not require effort, it requires certainty. When you assume something as true, you no longer need to question it, you do not need to check your surroundings for evidence, nor do you need to seek reassurance. You simply know. When you drop all doubt, when you persist in your new assumption, regardless of what the outer world appears to show, you will witness reality shift in ways that seem almost magical. Doubt is the only thing that can delay your manifestations. The moment you begin to question whether your new assumption is true, you introduce resistance. This is why most people struggle. They constantly waver between their old beliefs and their new desires. They assume their wish is fulfilled one moment, then let fear and uncertainty pull them back into their previous state the next. This back and forth keeps them trapped in the same experiences, never fully stepping into the reality they desire. To truly claim a new assumption, you must refuse to entertain thoughts that contradict it. You must be so firm in your belief that nothing can shake you. Even if the world appears unchanged, even if circumstances seem to challenge you, you must hold steady. Do not react to appearances. Know that they are only a reflection of past assumptions and that they will change as soon as you persist in your new state. This is not about wishful thinking or blind faith. It is about understanding how reality operates. The external world is always a step behind your internal state. What you see today is simply the result of past assumptions. If you want a different tomorrow, you must make a different assumption today. And once you assume, you must live as if it is already done. Walk through life as the person who already has what they desire, and reality will adjust accordingly. The greatest mistake people make is assuming that their desires are far away, that they need time, effort, or special conditions to bring them into existence. But the moment you assume something is already yours, you collapse the distance between you and your desire. You shift from waiting for it to come to knowing it is already here. And when you truly know, the universe must respond. Your assumptions shape everything. The people you attract, the opportunities that come your way, the challenges you face, and the successes you experience. If you assume that life is against you, you will see proof of it everywhere. But if you assume that life is always supporting you, that everything is unfolding in your favor, you will find that things begin to work out for you in ways you never expected. It is not about forcing the world to change. It is about shifting your inner perception until the outer world has no choice but to follow. Do not look to circumstances for confirmation. Look within and choose what you wish to be true. Hold on to that assumption unwaveringly, and reality will rearrange itself to prove you right. You have always been assuming things into existence. Every success, every failure, every moment of joy or struggle has been the result of an assumption you accepted as true. The good news is that you can change your assumptions at any moment. There is no limitation except the ones you impose upon yourself. The instant you decide to assume something new, the entire universe begins working to make it your reality. Nothing is out of reach. Nothing is beyond your ability to create. The only requirement is that you assume with absolute certainty. And when you do, the world will bend itself to fit your new reality. Everything you desire is already yours. It always has been. The only question is whether you will claim it. The moment you accept something as true in your mind, the universe begins moving to reflect that truth back to you. There is no delay, no hesitation, no uncertainty, only the precise unfolding of your assumption into reality. Yet most people live as if they are waiting for something to happen before they can feel secure, happy, or fulfilled. They wait for signs, external confirmations, and physical proof before they allow themselves to believe. But the truth is, the outer world does not create your inner world. Your inner world creates the outer. Everything in your experience begins with the unseen. Before anything appears in physical form, it must first exist in consciousness. Every great invention, every masterpiece, every transformation started as an idea in someone's mind. But what separates those who manifest their desires from those who do not is certainty. Those who succeed do not wait for proof. They assume the reality they desire is already theirs. They do not concern themselves with how or when it will come. They simply live in the knowing that it is done. This is the secret to effortless manifestation. The moment you decide that something is yours, the universe responds immediately. The conditions, people, and circumstances required to bring it into physical form begin shifting. This is not something you need to force. You do not need to chase or struggle. You simply need to accept and trust. Most people make the mistake of thinking that manifestation requires effort. They believe they must work tirelessly, take endless action, or manipulate the outside world to get what they want. But manifestation is not about force. It is about alignment. The only effort required is the effort of assuming and maintaining the state of already having. Once you truly step into this state, the external world has no choice but to rearrange itself in accordance with your new assumption. This is why those who walk with unshakable confidence seem to receive everything they desire so easily. They do not entertain doubt. They do not question whether what they want is coming to them. They move through life as if it is already done, and because of this, reality conforms to their certainty. It is not that they are lucky or special, it is that they understand the fundamental truth of creation. What you assume to be true must be. When you truly accept that your desire is already yours, you stop searching for signs. You no longer ask, when will it come, or how will it happen, because those questions imply that it is not already here. Instead, you shift into the state of knowing. And when you know, there is no need to seek reassurance. Just as you do not question whether the sun will rise tomorrow, you do not question whether your desire will manifest. You simply expect it. Doubt is the only thing that can interfere with this process. The moment you question whether your assumption is true, you introduce resistance. This is where most people falter. They assume their desire is theirs one moment, then let fear and uncertainty pull them back into their old state the next. This constant back and forth keeps them stuck, delaying the very thing they wish to experience. But the universe does not respond to hesitation, it responds to conviction. To fully embody the state of already having, you must train yourself to think, feel, and act as if your desire is already a reality. This is not pretending, it is living from the end. If you desire abundance, carry yourself as someone who is already abundant. If you desire love, walk through life as someone who is already deeply loved. If you desire success, think and act as someone who already possesses it. When this way of being becomes natural to you, the external world must reflect it. Your emotions are a powerful indicator of your state. If you feel anxious, desperate, or impatient, it is a sign that you are operating from lack rather than possession. But if you feel peaceful, fulfilled, and secure, you are aligned with the reality of already having. Your emotions will always reveal the truth of your inner state. When you feel as if your desire is already yours, you can be sure that it is on its way to physical form. The external world is nothing more than a mirror. It does not create, it reflects. Whatever you hold as true within yourself will be confirmed in your experience. If you believe you are successful, the world will provide evidence of your success. If you believe you are loved, love will appear in your reality. If you believe you are abundant, abundance will find you effortlessly. The mirror does not argue, it does not delay, it does not withhold, it simply reflects. This is why changing your circumstances is not about changing the external world, but about shifting your internal state. Most people try to fix their problems by taking endless action, but they do not realize that they are only fighting their own reflections. The moment you change the way you see yourself and the world, the reflection must change. The key to effortless creation is unwavering faith. You must assume that what you desire is already done, and you must refuse to be moved by appearances. Even if the outer world seems unchanged, even if circumstances seem to contradict your assumption, you must persist. The physical world is simply catching up to the reality you have already created within. This is why patience is never truly needed when you understand how creation works. You do not need to wait for your desire, you simply need to align with it. The moment you do, the journey to its manifestation becomes effortless. You will be inspired to take the right actions at the right time. You will encounter the right people, the right opportunities, the right circumstances without forcing anything. It will feel natural, inevitable, effortless. To strengthen your assumption, immerse yourself in the feeling of already having. Use your imagination to construct scenes where your desire is fulfilled. Feel the emotions you would feel if it were already yours. Let these feelings become so natural to you that they replace all doubt. When you wake up, carry this knowing into your day. When you fall asleep, let your final thoughts be those of gratitude for already receiving what you desire. This is not a technique, it is a way of life. When you truly understand that the universe is always responding to your inner state, You no longer react to appearances. You no longer live in fear, doubt, or uncertainty. You walk with the quiet confidence of someone who knows that everything is always working out for them. You know that the moment you assume something, it is already done. Nothing is out of reach. Nothing is beyond your ability to create. The only requirement is that you assume with absolute certainty. And when you do, the world will bend itself to fit your new reality. Everything you desire is already yours. It always has been. The only question is whether you will claim it. The more desperately you try to grab at something, the further it slips through your fingers. You reach and reach, and the very act of reaching declares to the universe that you do not possess it. You cry out for love, for wealth, for freedom, for healing, and your cry becomes a confession of lack. You chase success with your heart racing and hands trembling, not realizing that every breath of desire says, I do not have. But the secret lies not in the chase. The secret lies in the knowing, in the quiet certainty, in the stillness where no chase is needed because the thing is already yours. You see, what you truly possess in consciousness must appear in your world not because you begged for it, not because you ran yourself ragged trying to get it, but because you stopped. You stopped trying. You stopped yearning. You stopped affirming its absence with every attempt, and you simply accepted it, claimed it in silence, lived it within. The moment you stop trying to get love, you realize you are love, and the world must mirror what you are. The moment you stop trying to get wealth and instead walk as one who already owns, who already receives, the world bends to your inner certainty. Every prayer, when laced with desperation, is a veil over your power. But every assumption made in stillness, every quiet inner yes, carries the force of the universe. Your outer world is not chasing you, it is reflecting you. And as long as you believe it is something you must win, or earn, or deserve through toil, you will stand at its doorstep knocking, never realizing the door was never locked, never realizing you are already inside. All your striving is a denial of your own inheritance. The moment you stop and become still, not in weakness, but in knowing, the game changes. You no longer plead for light, you become the light. You no longer chase success, you carry the posture of success. The outer world must follow your inner vision. That is law. You cannot plant a seed and dig it up each day to see if it has grown. Yet that is what most do with their desires. They plant the thought of wealth and tomorrow dig it up with worry. They plant the desire for healing and sabotage it with fear. They do not trust the soil of consciousness. They do not trust the unseen. But everything visible was once invisible. Everything you see began in thought. Don't try to get what you already are. When you stop trying to be confident, you will realize confidence was your natural state before doubt interrupted. When you stop trying to be accepted, you remember that you are the one who must accept yourself first, and the world will echo that choice. When you stop striving to be enough, you hear the truth, you are always enough. Let go of the effort. Let go of the proving. Let go of the chase. It is not surrender in defeat. It is surrender in power. The oak tree does not strive to be majestic. It is majestic. The sun does not try to shine. It shines. And you, in your essence, do not need to try. You only need to know. Knowing is the birthplace of having. Trying is the burial ground of desire. And when you know, with calmness and conviction, all things are drawn to you, not because you demanded them, but because you finally stopped running long enough to let them find you. The world belongs to those who can rest in the silence of already being, not because they spoke loudly, but because they believed quietly. Not because they chased, but because they received. To have, you must stop trying to get. You must become. And when you become, the thing you once pursued arrives, not with struggle, but with ease, because it always belonged to you. When you say to yourself, I'm trying to get it, what you're really saying is, I do not have it. This is the first and greatest misunderstanding of the creative process. The act of trying, by its very nature, announces to your deeper self that what you desire is separate from you, outside of you, and must be pursued. In that moment, you create an internal division. Here you are, and over there is the thing you want. And as long as you are trying to get to it, you are confirming that you are not one with it. You have placed it at a distance. This is why effort so often leads to frustration. You are not frustrated because the thing is far away. You are frustrated because you have accepted a belief that it is far away. And as long as that belief governs your inner world, the outer world must reflect it. You could work harder, speak louder, run faster, but if your assumption remains one of lack, then your world will only echo that lack in louder and louder ways. You do not receive what you beg for, you receive what you believe is already yours. To try is to declare uncertainty. Think of a person trying to convince others that they are confident. The very need to try reveals that they are not. Confidence, when real, requires no performance. It simply exists. It has presence, not effort. In the same way, the one who truly possesses something in consciousness does not need to strive to prove it. They do not need to run after it. They walk in it. They speak from it. They move as though it were already done. And life, in response, bows before that knowing. When you try to get love, for example, you are often acting from a place of inner emptiness. You seek validation, attention, approval, not because you are full, but because you feel empty. And the more you try, the more obvious that emptiness becomes. Others sense it. Life senses it. And in subtle ways, everything around you resists giving you what you're so desperately trying to take. You push, and it pulls away. Not because life is cruel, but because life responds to your assumption. It reads your vibration, your feeling, your belief, and it mirrors it back to you without judgment. Trying is a form of resistance. It feels like forward motion, but it often traps you in place. You may think you are building something through trying, but often you are building walls. Walls between you and the very thing you want. These walls are made of doubt, fear, unworthiness, and impatience. Each time you say, "I must get this," you are telling your inner world, "I am not yet enough." You delay the realization because you delay the identification. You are not becoming the one who has, you are remaining the one who lacks. There is a difference between movement and alignment. Trying is movement without direction. It's motion that arises from anxiety, not intention. But when you align, when you assume, when you quietly declare, "This is mine," even before you see it, then you have already entered the state of the wish fulfilled. You have crossed the bridge in the unseen. And the outer world, which is only the shadow of your inner world, must catch up. The reason so many people grow tired is not because life is hard, but because they are always trying, they are always proving, always hoping, always needing, never resting in the awareness that they already are what they seek to be. Never trusting the power of quiet conviction. They think the goal is to convince the world, when in truth, the goal is to convince the self. Once the self is convinced, the world bends without resistance. To try is to plead. It is to cry out to a universe that is already offering you everything. The table is already set, but you are too busy begging at the door to sit and eat. Your trying has blinded you to what is right in front of you. If you could only stop and be still, you would see that the thing you desire is not missing, it is present, but hidden by your own inner noise. Faith is not frantic. It does not pace the room. It does not ask 100 times, "When will it come?" Faith is knowing that the moment you assumed it, it was done. And when that knowing is real, you no longer feel the need to try. You simply move forward as one who has already received. You act, speak, and rest from the state of possession, not the state of pursuit. When you act from a place of trying, you are unstable. One day you believe, the next you doubt. One moment you feel certain, the next you panic. Because your foundation is effort, not identity. You are building your house on sand, not rock. But when your belief becomes identity, when you no longer say, "I hope to be wealthy," but rather, I am wealth in spirit, you express it. You don't seek it, you reveal it. There is nothing you need to chase, because all you desire is already yours in consciousness. You only need to claim it, not with noise, not with striving, not with anxiety, but with still, quiet, powerful inner assumption. That assumption, once fully accepted, becomes your new reality, not by force, not by struggle, but because the world must conform to the inner image you persist in holding. So let go of the trying. It has served its purpose. It has shown you what not to do. Now rest. Know. Assume. Live as if it were already done. And you will find that the thing you once chased is no longer ahead of you. It is around you, in you, expressing through you, because it was never far away. It was only waiting for you to stop trying and start being. Stillness is the gateway to creation. In the silence of the mind, when all striving ceases and all noise quiets, something extraordinary begins to happen. You become aligned. Not with the world as it appears, but with the world as it truly is. Malleable, responsive, and ready to reflect your inner truth. The more you chase, the more you blind yourself to this truth. You look outward for signs, for proof, for confirmation, hoping the world will give you what you seek, never realizing that what you are looking for can only appear after you stop looking altogether. Stillness is not the absence of life. It is the ground from which all life emerges. There is a kind of power that cannot be found in effort. It is not in the force of the will or the strain of the body. It is found in the one who, though surrounded by chaos, remains unmoved. This person does not push, does not grasp, does not plead. Instead, they sit in quiet confidence, not because they are passive, but because they know. They know that life must respond to their inner posture, not their outer performance. And so they do not need to shout. They do not need to rush. Their stillness speaks louder than any action ever could. It declares, I already have. I already am. Most people are trapped in a cycle of noise. They speak to convince others. They act to impress. They move from one task to another, not because they are inspired, but because they are afraid to be still. They think that if they stop, they will fall behind. They believe that stillness is weakness, that silence is surrender. But nothing could be further from the truth. Stillness is not surrender. It is dominion. Silence is not emptiness. It is fullness, the kind that doesn't need to be explained or defended. When you stop and rest in that stillness, you are not stepping away from creation, you are stepping into it. You are allowing the deeper currents of imagination, belief, and faith to do their work. You are giving permission to the unseen forces of reality to arrange themselves around your inner world. And you begin to see that it was never your effort that made things happen. It was your alignment. Your stillness becomes the signal, the frequency that says, it is done, and reality listens. Because reality always listens to what is consistent within you. You cannot receive while you are struggling. You cannot attract what you are at war with. Trying to force something into your life while doubting it internally is like planting a seed and ripping it out of the soil every day to see if it has grown. The soil does not respond to impatience. It responds to faith. It responds to care. It responds to your willingness to let it be. So it is with life. The moment you stop trying and begin to live in the feeling that it is already yours, the moment you relax into that state, you begin to call it forth effortlessly. Stillness is not doing nothing. Stillness is holding the inner vision so steadily, so faithfully that you no longer question it. You no longer speak about it in future tense. You no longer act as though it's far away. You dwell in it. You abide in it. You become it. And what you become must be expressed. The outer world becomes the shadow of that stillness. It follows behind you like a reflection, not because you chased it, but because you stopped and allowed it to catch up. When you walk into a room and know your worth, you do not need to announce it. You don't need to dress it up or defend it. The room feels it, people respond to it. Not because you tried, but because you carried stillness. You carried inner conviction. This is true in all things: the business deal, the relationship, the healing, the success. None of it requires you to chase it down. It requires you to become the person who already lives in that outcome. And that becoming begins in stillness. This stillness is not laziness. It is precision. It is intention. It is knowing exactly who you are and no longer needing the world to agree with you before you claim it. You stop asking for permission. You stop waiting for signs. You stop explaining why you deserve it. You already have it in consciousness. That is enough. The world must follow, not because you demanded it, but because you withdrew your energy from doubt and placed it fully in faith. Faith is not loud, it is not frantic, it is not in a rush. Faith does not check the clock, it does not measure time, it simply rests in the unseen as if it were seen. It walks calmly through storms, not because it doesn't see the rain, but because it knows what comes after. Faith lives in the answer, not the question. It lives in the fulfillment, not the hope. And when you enter that stillness, when you become faith-informed, the need to try vanishes. The world teaches you that hustle is the way, that constant motion is the answer. But what is the use of running if you're running in the wrong direction? What is the value of effort when the effort itself is built on fear? When you stop and return to yourself, when you quiet the voices and remove the pressure, something magnificent emerges. A deep knowing, a subtle shift. The moment you let go of control, you begin to flow. And in that flow, life becomes effortless, not because you did nothing, but because you finally did the only thing that mattered. You aligned. Stillness is not just peace, it is power. It is the power that moves mountains without lifting a finger. It is the power that creates worlds without raising a voice. When you find that stillness, you find your center. You find the core of who you are, and from that place, everything that belongs to you begins to return. Not with force, but with grace. Not because you went out and got it, but because you stopped pushing it away. The moment you stop trying and start knowing, the universe rearranges itself to match your state. And in that state of stillness, you realize what was always true. What you were chasing was already yours. It was waiting. Not for more action, not for more words, but for more faith, for more stillness, for you to stop trying and finally receive. To receive something in this world, you must first become the version of yourself who already possesses it, not in form, not in circumstance, but in feeling, in inner identity. You do not wait until the world gives it to you before you believe you have it. That is the illusion, that is the great lie that keeps people running, striving, and suffering in a loop of endless delay. The truth is far simpler and far more powerful. You must become it within before you can ever hold it in your hand. You must assume the state of the fulfilled desire and remain faithful to it, even when the outer world offers no confirmation. You are not here to beg reality to change. You are here to embody the change and let reality follow. It will follow not because you manipulated it, not because you forced it, but because the outer world cannot help but reflect the image you hold of yourself. The one who is truly wealthy does not need to try to appear wealthy. They walk into a room and their confidence, their ease, their quiet assurance speaks louder than gold ever could. The one who is truly loved does not chase love. They radiate it. They carry within themselves the energy of being worthy, cherished, and adored. And because of that, others reflect that back to them without resistance. Everything begins in consciousness. There is no exception. Before anything existed in your visible world, it was first an unseen pattern, a thought, a belief, a mood, the house you live in, the clothes you wear, the career you hold, the relationships you experience. All of them are outpicturings of your internal state. And the moment you change that internal state, the world must shift to mirror it. It may not happen instantly, but the process begins immediately because the seed has been planted. But most people reverse the order. They say, once I have the money, I will feel secure. Once I meet the right person, I will feel loved. Once I succeed, I will feel confident. And in doing so, they make the feeling dependent on the form. They wait for the fruit without planting the seed. But life does not work this way. You must first feel secure and the money will come. You must feel loved and the person will appear. You must feel confident and the opportunities will open up. You are not chasing after things. You are aligning with them by becoming the person who naturally experiences them. This is why change often feels difficult. It is not because it is far away. It is because your identity is still tied to the old story. You say you want something new, but you continue to identify as the person who lacks it. You may speak affirmations, visualize, and set goals, but if your self remains rooted in the past, no amount of outer work will bring lasting change. The old self cannot carry you to a new reality. You must shed it. You must step into the version of yourself who no longer needs to try, because for them, it is already done. This transformation is internal. It does not always require visible action. It requires imagination, belief, emotional consistency. It requires that you choose moment by moment to dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled, to live not as one who hopes, but as one who knows, not as one who is waiting, but as one who already is. You shift the atmosphere of your mind, and the world bends accordingly. Consider the person who desires to be healthy. If they continue to identify as sick, to speak of illness, to expect decline, then their reality will honor that expectation. But if they begin to see themselves as vibrant, if they walk, speak, think, and feel as one who is already whole, then life begins to cooperate. The body begins to respond. The cells awaken. The energy rises. Not because of effort, but because of alignment. The body, like the rest of reality, obeys the mind. Or consider someone who longs for purpose. If they say, I am lost, I don't know what I'm here for, I feel useless, then they are affirming that they are not yet the one who lives with purpose, and so purpose remains distant. But if they begin to see themselves as guided, inspired, aligned with a greater calling, then doors open, ideas come, people arrive, and clarity finds them, not because they ran after it, but because they became the person it visits. This is not a game of pretending. It is not about faking until you make it. It is about entering into the deeper truth, the truth that all states exist now, that everything you could ever want is already available, not in some distant future, but here, in the present moment, waiting for you to match its frequency. You are not creating reality from scratch. You are selecting it by your state of being. You are choosing which version of yourself to express, and the world will faithfully reflect that version. The question is not what do I want, the question is who must I be for that desire to be natural, and once you find the answer, you must live from it, not visit it occasionally, not dip your toes in when you're feeling hopeful, but abide in it. Dwell in that version of yourself so consistently, so completely, that the old version has no place to return to. You walk with new posture, new energy, new expectations, not because the world changed, but because you changed. And then, without struggle, things begin to shift. People treat you differently, opportunities arrive, circumstances align. What once felt far becomes close. What once seemed impossible feels inevitable, not because you tried harder, but because you became different. The outer world simply caught up to the inner transformation. You do not get what you want by wanting. You get what you want by being. And when you are, there is no more need to try, to prove, to chase. You simply receive. Because the version of you who already has it does not wait. They live. And that living becomes your reality. Your outer world is not a separate force acting upon you. It is a mirror, a faithful servant reflecting the image you carry within. Most people spend their lives trying to fix the mirror, not realizing that the distortion they see comes from within themselves. They want the world to be kinder, more abundant, more loving, but they remain identified with fear, lack, and rejection, and then they wonder why life does not change. They wonder why, despite all their effort, nothing seems to shift. But effort does not rewrite the reflection. Assumption does. What you assume to be true within, what you believe and feel consistently, becomes the blueprint from which your world is constructed. This is a great paradox. It is not what you do that changes your reality, it is what you are. You can take massive action from a place of insecurity and fear, and the world will reflect those insecurities back to you. You may gain things temporarily, but they will be fragile, built on a shaky foundation of doubt. On the other hand, a single movement made from a place of inner certainty can change the entire direction of your life. Because that movement is not forcing change, it is revealing what is already true within. You are not here to struggle against your circumstances. You are here to understand that they are a message, a mirror of your dominant beliefs. When you wake up to this truth, you no longer feel powerless. You stop blaming people, luck, or fate, and begin to take responsibility for what you are radiating. You become the author, the director, the inner creator, not with fear but with power. You realize that what you accept as real within must eventually become real. Look at your life. Look at your relationships, your finances, your health, your work. If there is chaos outside, there is chaos within. If there is lack outside, there is a belief in lack within. The world does not lie to you. It tells you exactly what you assume to be true. This is not punishment. It is law. It is the system working perfectly. You are being shown who you are through what you see, and when you change who you are, what you see must also change. There is no use in begging for a new life while clinging to the old identity. You cannot wear the mindset of failure and expect success to greet you. You cannot live in the emotion of rejection and expect love to embrace you. You cannot dwell in fear and expect peace to fill your home. The mirror only reflects what stands before it. You must become the reflection you desire. You must feel it real within, assume it fully, and persist in that assumption, regardless of what the current reflection shows. This persistence is key, because the mirror does not always change instantly. There is often a delay, a period where your new assumption is taking root, where the old reflection still lingers like a shadow. And this is where most people give up. They plant the seed of belief, but they dig it up with doubt. They begin to walk in confidence, but return to fear when they see no immediate proof. They speak the words of faith, but harbor the emotion of lack. And so the mirror reflects both. Moments of light mixed with long stretches of confusion. Inconsistency within creates inconsistency without. To shift the mirror, you must become single-minded. You must assume your desire so completely, so consistently that the world has no choice but to reflect it. You must live as if it were already yours. Speak as if it were already done. Think as if there were no alternative. Not from arrogance, but from truth. The truth that what you accept and embody will shape the outer world. Most of the world runs on the belief that action is the master and thought is secondary. But the opposite is true. Thought is the root, and action is the fruit. If you act without changing the root, the fruit may appear for a time, but it will wither. But if you nourish the root, if you cultivate the inner landscape with faith, imagination, and assumption, the fruit will appear without strain. Your job is not to force the fruit to grow. It is to become the tree that bears it. The mirror does not argue, it does not question, it does not resist, it simply reflects. You do not need to manipulate it. You need only to stand before it as the person you wish to see. That is the secret, not striving but assuming, not controlling but aligning. And once you align, the world becomes cooperative. People seem to change. Opportunities appear, things move effortlessly. Not because the world changed, but because you did. There is a deep peace in this realization. You no longer need to exhaust yourself trying to make the world love you, approve of you, or reward you. You simply become love, approval, and value within yourself, and the world reflects that back in 1,000 different forms. A smile from a stranger, a door opening at the right moment, a chance encounter that leads to everything you hope for. These are not accidents. These are echoes of your inner world. You were never meant to chase the mirror. You were meant to understand it, to master it, to recognize that the moment you believe something new about yourself, the mirror begins to shift. Not in arrogance or delusion, but in deep alignment with the truth that creation is finished, all states exist now, and your assumption selects the one that becomes real for you. So you step back from the noise, you quiet the desperate thoughts. You no longer try to force life to obey. You understand that life is already obeying what you believe. And you begin to believe something new, not just with words, but with feeling, with identity, with consistency. And the mirror, as always, will follow. It must. Letting go is often mistaken for giving up, but it is not the act of surrendering to defeat, it is the act of surrendering to truth. It is not weakness, it is wisdom. When you let go, you are not walking away from what you desire. You are walking away from the anxiety that says you don't have it. You are stepping out of the restless energy of striving and into the calm certainty of being. You are saying to yourself, I no longer need to grip this so tightly because I already know it's mine. That knowing is powerful. That surrender is not collapse, it is alignment. You see, when you try to control everything, when you worry, obsess, analyze, and hold on too tightly, you block the very thing you want. You clog the flow. You create tension within your own being. And that tension sends a message to the world that says, I don't trust. And where there is no trust, there can be no ease. Where there is no ease, there can be no flow. Life does not respond to panic. It responds to peace. It does not respond to desperation. It responds to faith. Letting go is not passive. It is not pretending not to care. It is not ignoring your dreams. It is the moment you finally trust your inner assumption so deeply that you no longer feel the need to obsess over the outcome. You are no longer begging the world to give you what you want because you are now living as though you already have it. And from that posture of inner certainty, life begins to reflect what you've already claimed. This is the divine paradox. The less you try to force it, the faster it arrives. The moment you stop holding on with fear, the moment you breathe and relax and return to presence, the desire moves towards you. Not because you stop caring, but because you stopped resisting. Every time you push harder, you are confirming to yourself that it's not here yet. But when you relax into your vision and trust it with calm conviction, your energy changes, and your energy is the invitation. So many are taught to fight for everything, to hustle endlessly, to always be chasing, striving, and outperforming others. And there is a time and place for discipline, for dedication, for clear intention. But there is also a deeper truth. The most powerful creation happens in stillness. The most significant shifts happen not through battle, but through alignment, through trust, through inner release. Not release of the desire itself, but release of the tension around it. Imagine holding water in your hand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. But if you cup your hands gently, the water remains. So it is with your dreams. When you grip them in fear, trying to force them to appear, they slip away. But when you hold them in faith, when you treat them as already yours, they rest in your life effortlessly. This is the art of letting go. Releasing the pressure, not the vision. Releasing the obsession, not the outcome. Letting go does not mean you stop taking inspired action. It means that your actions no longer come from a place of lack or panic. They come from inspiration, from alignment, from joy. You are no longer trying to make things happen. You are allowing things to happen. You are no longer pushing against the current. You are flowing with it. And in that flow, things begin to shift. Ideas arrive. People show up. Circumstances change. Not because you forced them, but because you made room for them by letting go of the noise. When you let go, you return to now. And now is the only place creation happens. The future is a concept, the past is a memory, but now is alive. Now is powerful. And when you dwell fully in the present moment, fully in the state of your wish fulfilled, fully in the assumption that is already yours, you become magnetic. You begin to attract, not because you're trying, but because your being has changed. And the universe always responds to your being. You must remember, what is truly yours does not need to be chased. It comes, it finds you, it aligns with you. But only when you stop sending out the signal that you are separate from it. And that signal stops the moment you let go. The moment you stop questioning, doubting, resisting, and instead simply know. The kind of knowing that doesn't need to shout. The kind of knowing that doesn't need proof. The kind of knowing that lives quietly but radiates certainty. And yes, this may require patience. It may require walking through moments of silence, moments when the outer world shows you nothing. But that is the test of faith. That is the crucible in which your assumption is made solid. If you can hold your belief in stillness, if you can let go and still know, then you are already living in the state of the fulfilled desire, and the world has no choice but to comply. Do not confuse letting go with indifference. Indifference is cold, it pushes the desire away. Letting go is warm. It embraces the desire without clinging to it. It is the gentle, confident belief that all is unfolding perfectly. It is the quiet strength that says, I don't need to try harder, I need to trust deeper. And from that depth, everything begins to rise. So pause, breathe, release your grip, stop chasing shadows and come back to yourself, back to your inner knowing, back to the truth that you are the one creating your reality, not through frantic motion, but through the calm, unwavering assumption that it is already yours. Let go, not of the dream, but of the fear that it won't come. Let go, not of the desire, but of the belief that you must fight for it. The moment you let go is the moment you step into power. Not the power of control, but the power of harmony. And in that harmony, life becomes your mirror, not because you demanded it, but because you finally allowed it. When you understand the power within you, you realize that everything you seek is already yours. The secret is not in chasing the world outside, but in turning your attention inward. Focus on yourself, on the reality you wish to live, and the outer world will conform to that inner vision. Your consciousness is the creator of your experience, and when you fix your mind firmly upon what you desire, you cause that desire to take shape. Do not be distracted by circumstances or opinions around you. They are but reflections of the state of your own consciousness. When you change the focus within, the world must change accordingly. See yourself as already having what you want. Feel it, live it in your imagination with full conviction. This is the doorway to manifesting all that you desire. The moment you believe you are already complete and whole, the universe responds by aligning all conditions in your favor. Your attention is the key. Where your attention goes, energy flows. If you scatter your energy chasing after everything and everyone else, you dilute the creative power within. But when you concentrate, when you nurture your inner world with love and faith, you become magnetic to the blessings you seek. This inner focus is not selfishness, it is self-realization. Only by centering your awareness on the fullness of your being can you unlock the abundance that is your birthright. Do not wait for evidence outside before you act. Begin within. See the end result as real and certain, not a possibility but a fact. Live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Your imagination is the workshop where your destiny is forged. The world outside cannot limit you except by your consent. When you no longer give your attention to lack, limitation, or fear, you step into a new reality crafted by your own mind. Remember, the power to change your world is not in changing others, but in changing your own beliefs and focus. The moment you focus on yourself, on your own dreams, your own joy, your own peace, you initiate a transformation that ripples outward. Everything you desire flows naturally to you when you become the person who already has it. This focus on yourself is not pride, but the acknowledgement of your divine power to create life as you wish. Let your consciousness be a steady flame, unwavering and sure, illuminating the path to your desires. The more you dwell on your inner vision, the more real it becomes, and the sooner it manifests. The world must obey the law of your consciousness, and when you persist in focusing on yourself and your inner fulfillment, the outer world must rearrange itself to match that vision. This is the essence of creation, the knowing, the feeling, the inner seeing of your perfect self and perfect life. Your consciousness is the fundamental force that shapes every aspect of your life. It is the invisible power behind all that you see, hear, and experience. What you consider to be reality is, in truth, a mirror, reflecting the dominant thoughts and beliefs held within your mind. This means that every circumstance, every relationship, every challenge, and every blessing in your life originates from your inner state of being. To understand this is to grasp the essence of creation itself. Your consciousness is not passive. It is active, dynamic, and ever creative. It continuously projects your inner world outward, transforming invisible ideas into tangible reality. Many believe that the world controls them, that external events dictate their happiness, success, or failure. This belief creates a cycle of reaction and helplessness, where people respond to their environment rather than direct it. But when you realize that your consciousness is the source, you reclaim your power. You become the artist of your life, painting your experiences with the brush of your attention and belief. The law governing this creative process is simple yet profound. Like attracts like. Whatever dominates your mind most frequently and intensely becomes the pattern you live out. If you dwell on lack, fear, or limitation, these will manifest in your world. Conversely, if you focus on abundance, joy, and possibility, your external reality will reflect these qualities. It is important to recognize that your consciousness operates on both the conscious and subconscious levels. The conscious mind chooses the thoughts you focus on moment by moment, while the subconscious mind accepts these thoughts and beliefs as truth, working tirelessly behind the scenes to manifest them. The subconscious does not discriminate between positive or negative images. It simply brings to life whatever it is fed. This is why you may experience patterns in your life that seem beyond your control. They are the result of long-held subconscious beliefs that have been reinforced over time. To change your outer world, you must begin by changing your inner consciousness. This does not mean ignoring reality or pretending problems don't exist. Instead, it means recognizing that you have the power to influence and reshape your reality by shifting your dominant mental and emotional state. Your feelings are the language of your subconscious. So cultivating feelings of certainty, peace, and joy about your desires sends a powerful signal to the creative forces within you when you hold a clear and consistent image of what you want, combined with the feeling that it is already yours. You plant a seed in your subconscious that begins to grow and unfold into your experience. Many people fail to realize that their attention is the tool through which they sculpt their reality. Attention is like a spotlight. Wherever it shines, life flourishes and expands. If your attention is scattered among worries, doubts, or distractions, your creative power becomes diffused and weak. But when you direct your attention deliberately and persistently toward your inner vision, you harness a potent force capable of shaping your destiny. This requires discipline and faith. Discipline to maintain focus in a world full of noise, and faith in the unseen process that your inner work will bear fruit. The relationship between consciousness and reality is also deeply connected to your sense of identity. How you see yourself shapes the boundaries of what you consider possible. If you believe you are limited, unworthy, or powerless, your external life will mirror those beliefs. But when you expand your self-concept to include the qualities and experiences you desire, you open the door for those possibilities to enter your life. This expansion is not about arrogance or ego. It is about aligning yourself with possession with your true creative potential. You are not merely a victim of circumstances, but a powerful being capable of creating and recreating your world. In this understanding, every moment becomes an opportunity to choose and direct your consciousness. You can choose to focus on problems and what is lacking, or you can choose to focus on solutions, growth, and abundance. The choice is yours, and it is exercised through the quality and focus of your thoughts and feelings. When you consistently nurture a mental environment rich in hope, gratitude, and expectation, you cultivate the fertile ground from which miracles grow. Furthermore, this principle reveals that waiting for external conditions to change before feeling good or successful is an illusion. If you depend on outside circumstances to validate your worth or happiness, you remain trapped in a cycle of dependence and frustration. Instead, when you realize that your consciousness precedes and creates conditions, you can cultivate an inner sense of fulfillment independent of outer events. This inner fulfillment then radiates outward, influencing the conditions themselves and inviting greater harmony and success into your life. The process of mastering your consciousness requires patience and persistence. Old beliefs and conditioned responses may resist change, but with unwavering focus and commitment, you can reprogram your mind. Repetition of positive affirmations, vivid imagination of your desired outcomes, and conscious emotional engagement serve as tools to override limiting patterns. Your consciousness is like a garden. Whatever seeds you plant and tend will grow. Neglect or negativity will produce weeds, but careful nurturing of positive seeds will yield a bountiful harvest. As you deepen your understanding of your consciousness as the creator, You begin to see how interconnected all things are. Your inner state influences not only your own life, but also the world around you. This realization encourages responsibility, not as a burden, but as an empowering truth. You are a vital participant in the unfolding of reality. By focusing on yourself, on raising your vibration and clarity, you naturally elevate your environment and relationships. This inner focus does not isolate you from the world. Rather, it connects you more deeply to the source of creation that flows through all existence. When you shift your awareness from external distractions to your own consciousness, you align with the divine power within. This alignment is the key to unlocking everything you desire because it places you in harmony with the natural laws that govern manifestation. To embody this truth, begin by observing where your attention goes throughout the day. Notice the quality of your thoughts and feelings. Are they aligned with your desires, or are they dwelling on fears and doubts? Make a deliberate choice to redirect your focus inward, cultivating a mental environment that supports the reality you wish to create. Use your imagination as a sacred tool, seeing and feeling yourself living the life you want with vivid clarity. This practice rewires your consciousness and sets in motion the creative forces that bring your vision into form. In this way, focusing on yourself is not selfish. It is the highest form of creation. By mastering your inner world, you become the source of all that you seek. The outer world must follow the blueprint drawn by your consciousness. The power to change your life is within you, and it begins with where you place your focus, on yourself, on your vision, and on the unshakable knowing that you are the creator of your experience. Imagination is the most powerful tool you possess, for it is the gateway through which your desires take form and become reality. It is not merely a fanciful escape or idle daydreaming. Imagination is the very fabric of creation itself. Everything that exists first appeared in someone's mind before it appeared in the physical world. From the greatest inventions to the smallest details of daily life, all were born from the creative power of imagination. To harness this power consciously is to step into the role of a deliberate creator, shaping your life according to the images you hold most vividly and persistently in your mind. When you understand that imagination is not separate from reality but the precursor to it, you realize its importance in manifesting your desires. Your mind is a fertile ground where seeds of possibility are planted, and your imagination is the nurturing water that causes these seeds to sprout and grow. It is through vivid and sustained imagining that you impress your subconscious mind with the reality you wish to live. The subconscious then works tirelessly to bring about the conditions and experiences that match the image you hold. Therefore, your imaginative acts are not merely mental exercises. They are the creative forces that shape your entire experience. Many people underestimate the significance of feeling while imagining. The emotional intensity you bring to your mental pictures is what breathes life into them. The subconscious mind responds most powerfully to feelings because feelings are the language it understands. When you imagine your desire fulfilled and truly feel the joy, peace, or satisfaction that comes with it, you send a clear and irresistible message to the depths of your being. This emotional conviction turns your imaginative act from a mere thought into a living reality within your consciousness, which the subconscious cannot ignore. To use your imagination effectively, it is important to make it as real and detailed as possible. Picture yourself in the scene of your desire as if you are actually there. Use all your senses. See the colors, hear the sounds, smell the scents, feel the textures. The richer and more tangible your imagined experience, the stronger its impact on your subconscious mind. When you fully immerse yourself in this inner experience, you are planting a vivid blueprint that the universe must follow. Your imagination is the stage upon which your future is enacted before it appears in the external world. It is also essential to imagine from the end result rather than the process. Instead of visualizing the steps or struggles you might encounter, focus on the fulfillment of your desire as if it is already accomplished. Imagine the state of having, being, or doing what you want with unwavering certainty. This living in the end shifts your consciousness